We couldn't leave the RNC well enough alone. We have to go over everyone's favorite dog killer governor, Kristi Noem.
Most of you probably first heard about me during COVID, didn't you? Because South Dakota was the only state in the country that stayed open for business. We didn't mandate anything. We never ordered a single business or a church to close. I never even defined what an essential business was, because I don't believe that the government has the authority to tell you that your business isn't essential. We're growing so fast that we needed more workers to catch up. So we launched the most successful workforce recruitment campaign in the history of South Dakota. And they have come by the thousands to join us and to live with us. Do you guys remember those ads when I was a really lousy plumber and a really terrible electrician? Do you remember those? Well, since we started those ads, we have seen a 78% increase in licensed plumbers in the state of South Dakota. We've seen a 44% increase in electricians in our state. Now, people aren't moving to South Dakota for our beaches or for our beautiful January weather. They are moving to our state for opportunity and for freedom. And all of this happened because our people were bold. We took action, and I was strong. Now, South Dakota proved that freedom will make America wealthy again. And with President Trump in the White House, with Senator J.D. Vance by his side, we will prove it across America. Listen, 2 days ago, the whole world changed. Evil displayed itself in the very worst way, through a cowardly act. An innocent American lost his life, and we will continue to lift his family up in our prayers every single day. Prior to this week, we already knew that President Donald Trump was a fighter. He is the toughest man that I have ever met. Nobody has endured more than what he has gone through. They've attacked his reputation, they impeached him, they tried to bankrupt him, and they unjustly prosecuted him. But even in the most perilous moment this week, his instinct was to stand and to fight. Donald J. Trump is our man in the arena. He will never stop fighting for us. He will never stop, and now he is bringing all of us together. Now, I know that many of you are angry, but now is the time to unite. And we have to get to work. We have to win the hearts and minds of every single American. Wake them up with truth and with wisdom. We need to listen to them. You can't win people over by arguing with them. Visit with your neighbors, at your job, at your church, at the gas station, or even at the grocery store. Listen, there are moments in our history, often after great hardship and tragedy, when true leaders unite our country. At one time, President Lincoln, he united our country. He delivered my favorite presidential address of all time. In fact, it's the only speech or poem or song that I ever made my kids memorize when they were young, when they were little. It was the Gettysburg Address, and it was delivered during our nation's bloodiest conflict. That speech so inspired people that they continued to fight for years, and they lost loved ones in order to preserve this union we call the United States of America.
Noem really disgraced herself, and out of the 8 people that I'm doing these breakdowns of their speeches on, she is the one that has the tiniest star glistening, in the sense that she became a pretty prominent governor after this outbreak of that virus, but has really squandered her ability to have any chance of getting anywhere with regard to Trump as a result of that horrible second autobiography she wrote and the dog story. Now, to go into some policy specifics, her approach to the virus was initially similar to what many other responsible governors were doing, right? Stay-at-home orders, close down essential businesses. But once she decided to go along with her dear leader, Trump, she was fine with keeping things open. And I believe it was in October of 2020, South Dakota was found to have the second highest number of new cases of that virus per capita. So this relatively small state was beating out bigger ones like Texas and New York, which originally was the epicenter of this thing, to become one of the largest purveyors of this disease as a result of its governor's refusal to follow any basic guidelines to keep people safe. And it's just so sad that like they spin their negligence as I kept people free. It's like, no, you allowed people under your watch to get more and more infected with this deadly disease, and the only reason it didn't affect your state as much as it did with a lot of the other more populous ones is you just don't have as many people. Just complete lunacy. But what I find so funny about her speech when she's mentioning all the economic things and whatnot is that she leaves out a lot of, like, putting aside the dog story, right? One of the biggest controversies relating to her this year was her beef with the various tribes in South Dakota. And it got to a point where every tribe has banned her from being able to visit them. And this is not some tiny little itty bitty part of the state. They're about 20% altogether. These 8 tribes, I believe it was 8, make up about 20% of the state. So the governor of South Dakota cannot visit a fifth of South Dakota, and you'll never see her mention. And that is a significant thing, because if you go and look through most governorships of most, at least of the recent current governors, you're probably not going to find many that are banned from damn near a quarter of their state, or a fifth of their state, I should say. And that's the person who's going to lead you. And, you know, at least when Trump does the whole, you know, I survived the shooting thing, I can be sympathetic, because I do believe if someone attacks you, it's of your own volition to use it in whatever way you want. And I am glad he survived. I've said that repeatedly. I don't support political violence. But just to like, because again, my problem with Noem has always been that she rides, she like overtly praises Trump to the point of almost making him this cult figure, right? Where I remember I mentioned that when she endorsed him, she's like, he's the father that our country needs. And then showing him that Mount Rushmore with his face on, the little tiny one she gave him. And he's our man in the arena. I've never met someone more tough in my whole life. A man more, just, which by the way, doesn't have to be an insult to her father. Like you would think when you're like saying this is the best man I've ever known, or something to that effect, it would be your dad, or, you know, some relative that was involved. I don't know. I just think that's interesting. Just that it's like, skip over all the men in my personal life. Let me attach this high praise to this politician who I'm trying to coast off the career of. And as far as her aspirations are concerned, I did this video where I talked about how I thought she was going to run for president in 2028, and I still hold on to that belief. But that's really because I don't see anywhere else for her to go. Like, she ruined her chances of being Trump's VP pick, and I do believe that book destroyed it. I think if she didn't write that stupid book, she would have either been the VP or been on that short list, almost no question. But she ruined her chances of being Trump's VP. And her term as governor is going to be up in a few years. I just don't see, she can't run for senator, right? Because Thune is holding that seat, and then the other one. So I don't see what other lanes she has besides either running for president herself in 4 years, which she kind of hinted at when she was like, you know, why would I run against Trump? Why run if you can't win? You know, last year. Or, and this is the other likelihood, she's jockeying to get a job in Trump's cabinet, probably as like agriculture secretary or some other position, which I do think she does have a chance of getting. I think by then, what it is that people will never forget this, the ridiculous, insane dog killing story, but because it'll be a cabinet pick instead of her running for national office, right, where she has to like win over people in all these different states, you'll probably have her, and it really just depends if the Democrats can keep the Senate or not, but you'll probably have her be able to get that position if she's up for a cabinet job. But really, that's as far as I think she can go. And I don't feel sorry for her, because politicians, their purpose is that when they're elected to these jobs, they're supposed to be competent in these positions, right? They're supposed to do things that help the people. And for the life of me, I just don't see where Noam has been a positive influence on either South Dakota or the nation. I mean, her legacy in that state is getting banned by every single tribe of natives that's there, uh, allowing people to die from this disease that she did nothing to course correct on. And her national legacy is having a really good chance of being Trump's running mate before destroying it by doing one of the most self-inflicted owns ever of writing a book that had some information that she should have kept to herself. Just a bizarre, like, spiral of things, you know, just again, imagine you have a chance of being in a position to be a heartbeat from the presidency, and you spend years praising this man. You won't even run against him because you're convinced he's going to get the nomination and he might even win, right? And all it takes for you to completely eviscerate any chance you had of getting that higher position is writing some stupid book with like all the rest of stuff, lying about meeting Kim Jong Un, whatever. Like that section on the dog just ruined her whole career. If she can't go further than governor of South Carolina, that is funny. She did mention Haley in her book and said that Haley told her only one woman could be prominent in the party or some goofy thing. But if she can't go any further than governor of South Dakota, it's because of that stupid book and that dumb thing that she did as described in those pages. And this speech is doing her no favors.